I am Olivia Otieno. This is Double O Direct, a safe space for women every Saturday from 10 a.m. I play music by women, I'm dressed by a woman, and I host women. Today, it's all about which woman has your vote. Who has already secured your vote? MCA, MP, Governor, Senator, even Deputy President. Let us know on the social SpiceFM KE. I'm here with one such woman, the current Nairobi Women Representative, the Honorable Esther Passaris. Welcome back to Double O Direct.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know, we're talking about something off air just now that for me is mind-boggling, that 1 in 5 teens is pregnant.
It's our society today. It's happening. Our children are having sex at a very early age. Of course, we've got an element of defilement, and we don't want to face it. We've had headlines 2-3 years ago, children having sex at 15. And when we talk about putting them on contraceptives, everybody is saying, no, it's against our morals.
Because now it's underage of, if we put them on contraceptives, they're going to have sex. You're encouraging the act. 1 in 5 is not. We're not talking about 1 in 5 having sex. We're talking about 1 in 5 being pregnant.
Now, let me tell you what. When this young girl of 10 or 12 gets pregnant, she's already had a sexual encounter, she's already had a child. Then she continues in school and she continues having sex. All right. Now, when she continues having sex and you don't put her on a contraceptive, by the time she's 18, she's got 3 or 4 babies. So we have a problem because now our laws are such that if you want to have contraceptives, you're 15 years old, you've had your first child, you already know sex. Let's call it the forbidden fruit. You've already enjoyed it. You're having sex. You have a partner. You have a boyfriend or multiple boyfriends. But the problem is if we don't put them on contraceptives, by the time they're 18, they will have 3 or 4 babies. And they don't want those children. They themselves are children. They can't afford to look after them. So this holier than thou attitude that we have is wrong. Because now a young girl of 16 cannot go to a dispensary and be put on a pill. She'll be told you have to come. The law says you have to be 18 to access birth control. But you're active as a 15-year-old. So you see in the UK.
So you're telling me that it is
the age of consent. It's illegal.
Anyone under the age of 18 to have access to birth control.
Exactly. So now this is
even if your parents supply it.
If your parents supply it, of course, it's between you and your parents.
It's a gray area.
Yeah, but you see, a lot of the rich families can do that. They can go to the pharmacy, buy it. But the most vulnerable citizens in the informal settlements, 1, they need information. 2, they need to be able to have access. 3, they need their parents to understand that they're sexually active. They already have a child. So you can't say, oh, I'm not going to take you to get contraceptives, even though you have your first child, because you're not supposed to have sex. It's against our religion. She is going to have sex.
So are you saying that society has failed us? Are you saying that religion has failed us? Are you saying that parents are failing us?
We're all failing these young teenagers who are sexually active. And just by telling them don't do it doesn't mean it's going to happen. All right. So I feel that we have to support them. All right, by making sure that they have contraceptives. But it's not just contraceptives. Olivia, we have quite a number of young children getting HIV right now.
Yes.
All right, between the ages of 13 and 18, we've got a growth. That's why the Ministry of Health recently launched the triple threat.
Yes.
And why was that? One of them was new HIV infections. The next one was teenage pregnancies. And then the third one was GBV. So the ministry is trying, but the ministry also, if they want to end teenage pregnancies, then they have to allow the teenagers to access contraceptives. And we need to pass that law, because if a teenager has already had sex, has already had a child, and she wants to continue having sex but not have children, we're condemning her to become a mother for more and more children that she herself cannot afford to look after. So I feel that we have to look at what's happening around the world. In most of the European countries, the age of consent has been lowered to even as low as 14. When your children are already having sex, then you want to stop them having children.
Yes.
Just by giving them contraceptives doesn't mean you're encouraging them. You give the ones that come forward and say, look, we should have a teenage desk where a teenage girl can go in and talk to a counselor. And even if that teenage girl is not having sex today, but she's attracted to her boyfriend, she wants to have sex, she's under peer pressure to lose her virginity. So what happens is, if she had a place where she could go, she would be able to say, look, my boyfriend and I are thinking of trying it. So we would want to have.
How has it changed from when we were growing up? Because for me, that was
exposure. We're in the sexual revolution, from the songs to the movies to YouTube. There's so much information there. And then, of course, we're maturing as adults. We're more informed. So we see things. The way people live in the settlements, in the informal settlements, you see or hear your father and mother having sex because you're in one room with all of them. So these kids are becoming conscious of these screams and these moans and these groans and this kissing and this hugging. And they're beginning to experiment. They're doing what they see happening at home. Or you can't send your child at night and tell her go sit outside in the cold while mommy and daddy do what they have to do. So our family setups, in the UK, if you're a couple, you end up with a one-roomed house.
Yes.
If you're a couple with a child, you get a two-roomed house. If you're a couple with two children, one boy, one girl, you get a three-roomed house to separate the girls and the boys. So the children are not exposed. But even peer pressure.
And social media.
You haven't lost your virginity? I lost mine 2 weeks ago. What's wrong with you? So you think there's something wrong. So there's that happening as well. Our girls, we had this as headlines a few years ago, are having sex as early as 13, 14, 15. Majority of the 200,000 children that were defiled, who were pregnant during the pandemic, majority of them, if we do a proper study, we'll find some were abused, but majority of them, it was consensual sex with their age mates. And that's why the courts are having a hard time. How could you arrest a 13-year-old for impregnating a 12-year-old? I mean, the 13-year-old and the 12-year-old were both engaging children in an activity. They're both children. They didn't commit the crime. But the problem is, the danger is the boy will continue with school.
Yes.
And then the girl
is in a life of poverty.
Yes.
Spice.
And thank you for watching the live stream. I've just been educating Mheshimiwa on how it works. You can watch it homepage, standardmedia.co.ke. When we first met, I never thought I'd call you Mheshimiwa, but it's such a privilege. I love it.
You know what? I always didn't like it. I didn't like being called Mheshimiwa because I feel we have to do so much to earn that title. It's not just winning an election. By the way, people actually get called Mheshimiwa just by participating in an election.
That's what surprised me.
Yeah, I remember when I ran for mayor in 2007.
Yeah.
When I ran for mayor in 2007, I was being called Your Worship. And I was like, but I didn't win. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you didn't win. You're called Your Worship because you ran. And now MCAs, who were then councillors, are also called Mheshimiwas. So the title, I think you can be a leader without a title. The title that I got, Mama Ta, for lighting up Nairobi, means so much more than the elective position. Because on the elective side, every time I go on a road show, and I see the love from the people, and I want to thank you all, everybody that waves to me, everyone that blows me kisses, everyone that smiles when they see me, everyone that recognizes who I am so grateful. And I'm sorry that sometimes life beats you down and it's so hard, and we all have to work together to improve the conditions under which you live, the hopelessness and the helplessness that they're suffering. I feel like there's so much to do, and I can't wait for Baba to get in and we start pushing his agenda. For me, I want every woman to have water in her taps, not just water to bath and clean dishes.
You want every woman to actually have taps so that they can get that water out of their taps.
Yes, exactly.
Tell me about the last 5 years, and in a nutshell, I know it is very hard to just, compress it all. The good, the bad, and the ugly, because you're talking about the work.
Yes.
Yeah. So with regards to the work, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Well, the good is I got into the health committee. For me, my politics started immediately after elections, and we had about 97 dead bodies, and putting empathy into elections, making sure that everybody who lost a loved one ended up taking their loved ones out of Nairobi at no cost to them, to bury them with dignity. So we arranged for the coffins, we arranged for the transport, and a little token so that they could go and bury their loved ones. So that was number one. Number two, I went to Kenyatta National Hospital. I saw quite a number of detained patients. I made a big thing online, and then all the detained patients were released. And this is why I know that HE has a very good heart.
Yes.
Because I made so much noise online, and he heard. And he's actually in touch with the realities of the country. And somebody said to me, from the CEO then at Kenyatta called me and told me, tumeambiwa tuna release patients wote. And I said, really? He goes, yes, but now don't go make any more noise. We're releasing everybody.
Yes.
So everyone was released, and the directive came from State House, release everyone. And there was no handshake at that time. So he just heard and he said, release everyone. And
because I don't think there are people who have secret funds and just don't want to pay their medical bill. I think it's truly a matter of need when someone is detained in hospital because of funds for treatment.
I mean, if somebody stayed there for 6 months, I mean, surely if he doesn't want to stay in the hospital bed. Okay. So that was one. Then, of course, I was in the health committee. I found a few hospitals that were stalled. Kenyatta University Hospital, Margaret Kenyatta Hospital, and I pushed for funding with the health committee, and I also made a lot of noise because we needed to get the big guys to hear, so that they could do something about making sure these hospitals are open. And during the pandemic, so many lives were touched and healed through the Kenyatta University Hospital, and I was very happy that I played my role there. In the health committee, we oversight, we represent, and the representation part is going in there and talking about the issues of your people. I met the Shona community, and together with a few of my colleagues, we actually started looking at the issue of statelessness. And the government has been very, very good at trying to make everyone who is stateless have citizenship. And we've recognized a few communities, the Nubians, the Makonge, and now the Shonas, and there are quite a few others. We've got the people from Pemba, and we've got some people also from I think we've got other neighboring countries that also have come to Kenya during the colonial times. They brought in labor from all over Africa. These guys have grown up in Kenya, lived with us, but they have no status. So I think we've done well in terms of ending statelessness, and as an example to other countries, so that everyone can be a citizen and belong. And that's important. So I'm happy that I participated in that. Then, of course, there's the National Government Affirmative Action Fund. The National Government Affirmative Action Fund, I'm a patron as the woman rep. The MPs have CDF. But the thing is, sometimes I feel that this fund, even though we've used it to the maximum, is something that actually loses me votes and favor from the people because they have expectations. So I have 1.2 million shillings for bursaries. The MP for the constituency has about 25 million. So I can give only 20 bursaries per ward, per constituency. I mean, that is, it's so little. Think of the entire Kangemi ward or the entire Kahawa West ward. I can only give 20. In a year, I can give 100. And I can't touch as many children. So I'm so happy that Baba, in his wisdom, has decided education will be free. So now we just need to concentrate on building schools. We need to concentrate on adding classrooms, getting books, and making sure our children have not just education, but quality education. He said he's going to give meals. It pains me a lot to see children that go to school because we're middle income and they don't have a meal. So you report to school at 7, you leave at 3. If your parents have got no money, you're not going to have a meal. So you left home without breakfast. But there are some parents who will send the 15 or 10 bob for meals. There are other parents who will send you to school with a snack. But the majority stay hungry. How do you study when you're hungry? And that meal that the children were getting in school was probably the only meal they got during the day. So for me, we have a population crisis. We're having children without planning. We have to talk more and more and more about family planning. Because if we don't plan our families, then our children suffer. You have 8 children. You don't have a job. All from different men. The children are living, packed in a small little shack. And then on top of it, you as the mother are so frustrated, so depressed. You start drinking. So they're now dealing with no food, an alcoholic mother who beats them up, or a mother who brings men home, then they get defiled and abused. It's a vicious cycle of wrong. So unwanted pregnancies bring poverty, increase poverty. So we want to have families because we've planned for them. Because even though we have Linda Mama, at the end of the day, you're going to take the child home. And if you take the child home and you can't afford to look after the child, both you and the child suffer.
Question, what needs to be done to have that
education? You find a lot of women who are educated will not have children, right? But at the end of the day, we've also have to have comprehensive sex education. Now, the church is against comprehensive sex education because when you talk about sexuality, you will talk about all all the genders, whether it's lesbian, whether it's gay, whether it's homosexual. You talk about all the gender identities. And because of that, they're saying we don't want to open their eyes. Well, the reality is their eyes are already open. They already know about it. But if you don't teach comprehensive sex education, when that young boy is being sodomized, he doesn't know what is happening to him. He thinks it's normal. But you say, no, this is wrong.
Yes.
Okay, this shouldn't have happened to you. When that teacher probably is engaging you in lesbian tendencies, you know it is wrong. Or when your peers in school. So we need to teach people, because they're going to learn it anyway in the future. By teaching them, you let them. If you teach somebody that they're lesbians, they're not going to go to become lesbians just because you taught them. They know that there's this gender identity, there's this gender identity, there's this gender identity. So the problem is we can structure, but we have to teach our children that when you have sex, you have children. That young lady who got pregnant and she got triplets, when she was told, what happened, and she goes, I didn't even know I was having sex. All I was doing was having fun. I didn't know it was sex. I didn't know I could get pregnant.
What are the barriers? Because it's clear that this is very passionate, and this is one of your strong points as a candidate.
A child has to come into a loving home that is prepared for it. A child, let me tell you, we've got orphanages in every corner of the informal settlements. People are having children and throwing them into the orphanage. The government doesn't even have enough orphanages to take all these kids. How do we even know how they're being treated out there? Some of them sleep hungry. So the fact that your orphanages, do a census, the fact that your orphanages are increasing shows you that people are having children they don't want. Okay? And for me, it's very clear. Let the churches come up with as many orphanages as possible, as many schools as possible, so that they can absorb all these unwanted children, since they don't want the children to either have abortion because
contraception.
Or reproductive health rights. If you're pregnant because you were defiled by your father and you're 10 years old, why should you have that child? You end up with fistula all your life. You end up with depression. You end up being laughed at by your peers. Your whole life collapses because we didn't allow you to remove the fetus at that point. You didn't want that child. Your father raped you. Your uncle raped you. Your brother raped you. Your neighbor raped you.
As a woman rep, my question to you is, what steps are required to have these bills in Parliament and then to have them passed?
Just yesterday, we have a Kenyan woman, Dr. N. Kihara, who's just been appointed as the president-elect for FIGO, which is a very, very big organization that's headquartered in London that deals with gynecological obstetricians all over the world. And it's the first time that a Kenyan woman has and a black woman has got into that position. What we want is and her passion is adolescence. So we want to be able to have funding to be able to do the necessary that we have to do to educate our girls. And I believe that we're going to have safe houses we're building our first safe house in Nairobi. And when we have the safe house, we have a place. But I would rather have a safe house and have 0 people requiring it. Okay, we probably can never get to the point of 0. But if we arrest perpetrators early enough, if we remove them because some of them are serial rapists, if we educate our girls on self-defense, if we know where the hotspots are and we put more security, we will be able to reduce rape. Even girls going into a bar, you saw the Mchele thing that happened recently. Men are not safe. So a society is getting desperate. Yesterday we were on a border riding from Embakasi North. And we saw, we were on our cars and there were borders escorting us, and we saw a guy on a border just snatch a handbag from a mature lady. And it was so sad, and this is happening. So crime is on the increase because people are desperate to get whatever money they can get.
I know I'm hammering on this point, but my question is, with regards to contraceptives, with regards to access to quality healthcare for our girls and young women, what actually needs to be done
to make the law?
Exactly. What are the steps in order to do that?
The thing is, if we educate our girls that if we don't want to give our girls contraceptives, we have condoms available everywhere for men. So we make sure that our girls know that if you're going to engage in sex, make sure that the person you're with wears a condom. Because then we have 2 things. We protect you from pregnancy. We protect you from STDs. All right. So make the condoms available. But are the condoms available for school-going boys? All right, exactly. So a 13-year-old who decides to play and fondle around with a girl who's 11 in school, in a boarding school or in the neighborhood, he's not going to know where to get a condom. All right, he can't go and buy it, and maybe he'll be too embarrassed to get it,
or even to ask his older brother for it.
Yes, exactly, or his parents. So we as parents have got to start educating our children, because it's not just pregnancy; it's also STDs. And HIV is the new infections is increasing.
Spice.
Good afternoon. I am Olivia Otieno. My friends call me Double O. I know. Yeah, you call me Double O. On SpiceFM every Saturday from 10 a.m., bringing you Double O Direct. Today on the socials, which woman candidate, which woman aspirant has your vote? Who has won over your heart? And more importantly, your vote. MCA, MP, Senator, Governor, even Deputy President. But please be aware that it's a package deal when it comes to the DP. Let us know. SpiceFM KE, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. But with me right now is a lady who's about to head out on a food distribution drive. Watu wakonja. Me too, because honestly, I don't eat, before the show. But for different reasons, she is off on a food distribution drive. I'm talking about member of the National Assembly, Nairobi Women Representative, the Honorable Esther Passaris. Where are you going?
Today I'm in Roysambu. I've done 2 wards. I'm going to do the 3rd, the 4th and the 5th.
Yes.
I've been going around. Yesterday we were in Pipeline. I had a budget to buy T-shirts, hats and caps, and I just couldn't see myself giving T-shirts,
People
hats and caps.
can't eat T-shirts.
I know,
caps,
exactly.
hats.
So I just decided to get rice and beans and package it and go and give food out.
Yes.
I don't like when sometimes we give transport, and when you give transport they can go and buy whatever it is that they want when they come for town hall meetings. But these ones I just called the most vulnerable women, and I'll tell you right now, everyone's vulnerable.
Yes.
Everyone's vulnerable. Everybody's looking for a meal, and it's all over the world, by the way. I mean, I saw South Africa has the same problems right now on food prices.
Yes.
The whole world, we're having a crisis because of the Ukraine war, as well as the fuel costs.
Why should you be re-elected? If you could, in a nutshell, encapsulate it.
Well, the thing is, I think a 5-year term is not enough to complete the projects you want. I put some money for a safe house. I got the land at the 11th hour. I've put some containers in 17 police stations so that if you do get raped or abused or sodomized or defiled, when you go to the police station, you can have a place to stay overnight before your perpetrators are arrested.
And not to be in the same cell as them.
Yeah, not to be in the cell as the people who are arrested for crime. So I want to finish the GBV project. I also feel that the first 5 years gives you a sense of the issues. Right now, I want to support Baba and make sure that with Baba we can attain his 10-point agenda. Because that is the most important. Of course, we also want to make sure that the county government also delivers. That's the devolved government. Know your MCA. Know who you're voting. It's so important. We want to have a Governor Igade, and we want to have Kaloki, and we want to make sure that they have enough support. We don't want circuses happening in the county assembly. Know your MCA who's running, so that you can actually have clean estates, water in your taps, better housing, job opportunities. We're going to be demanding more money for Nairobi, because I think with the contribution to the GDP of 60%, it is ridiculous that Nairobi only gets back 5%.
Yes.
If we want to transform this city, we have to have the resources to transform it and also expand it to the neighboring counties.
Only 5%?
Because that's the way they do it when it comes to the way they split the money. It gets the lion's share should come to Nairobi because it's of its contribution. It's too little what Nairobi gets, and I think we need to give more. And Baba is a father of devolution, so he understands that. But we've also devolved corruption, so we need to find a way to curb corruption. Yeah.
Quick one, Esther Passaris. If you could leave the people who you want to vote for you with one specific message that should rain into their heads come August 9th, what is that message?
First, we want a peaceful election. We don't want to go out there and start racing against each other. Azimio la Umoja is about peace. It's about unity. It's about us not knowing each other as tribes. All right, we know each other as Kenyans. One Kenya, one people. So we don't want any fights. We don't want the youth to be misused. We want citizens to make citizens arrest to anyone who's looking at having violence. We want the elections to happen, and we want to go back to work. We want the country to be fixed because the country has a lot of problems. And those who are very desperate, just hang in there. Baba is going to make sure that the household fund of 6,000 is already in place before the end of August. So at least we'll be giving them that support. People say, how will he give free education? How will he do all his projects? If we can curb corruption, even housing, no, we will not have slums anymore. Informal settlements, Mabati housing. We will make sure that people live in proper stone houses, well structured, well separated. There's going to be lots of markets. There's so much good opportunity. Baba has a vision for this country that he's implemented in piecemeal because he's never really been at the helm. Let's put him on the driver's seat, and the destination that he will take us is Canaan, where there's milk and honey in abundance.
Well, you heard it, milk and honey. But just to be clear, I did invite the Honorable Millicent Omanga to sit across from you today.
Yeah, but she's a Seventh-day Adventist, so I spoke to her when we were at NTV, and she said any other day she could come. So when she's available, I don't mind us coming back again and just looking at the issues of Nairobi. I mean, I respect that she's a Seventh-day Adventist and couldn't be here today.
Thank you so much, Honorable Passaris, and good luck.
Thank you.
Spice.